For episode 136, Stuart and Blakey did a catch-up on the most recent community questions. These can be found on YouTube, where you can guesstimate the answer and see if you got it right. Some of the questions included searching for a ball in sand, order of play, changing the characteristics of the club, pitch marks off the green, and more. Hey everyone, it's GolfRules Questions Podcast, episode 136, and I'm Blakey, and alongside me we have Mr. McPhee, Stuart, also known as 100, or commonly referred to as Podcast. I'm sure I'll have a new nickname for him next week. Hello, Stuart, how are you?
Yeah, great, Blakey. How are you? Great to be here.
It is great to be here, isn't it? I am good. I'm good. We have. What are we doing today? We've got
something a little bit different.
Something the same. We've got an episode on community questions. So these are the questions that I put on YouTube. Maybe every 3 days, maybe every 2 weeks. It's the period. It's periodic, but it changes. It's not consistent. It's when I remember to do it, or podcast reminds me. So first, before we go into that, we're going to have the GRQOTW 136, which was a player's ball played from the putting green is deflected into the hole by another player's caddy who accidentally walked across the line of play. The original ball or another ball must be replaced on its original spot and the stroke must be replayed. So that is a true-false question, of which the answer is what, Stuart?
True.
So it's true. And why is that?
11.1 covers ball in motion accidentally, hits person or outside influence.
Is that 11.1B or A? It's B, right? Because B's on the putting green.
So I'll get to 11.1B, place from where ball must be played. So when you get to 11.1B2, when ball is played from the putting green, if a player's ball in motion played from the putting green accidentally hits the player or an outside influence, the ball must be normally played as it lies. But if it is known or virtually certain that the ball in motion hit any of the following on the putting green, the player must replay the stroke by playing the original ball or another ball from the spot where that stroke was made. See Rule 14.6, and one in that list is any person other than the player or a person attending the flag stick. So that other caddy is another person. The only issue, 11.2, would come into it if that caddy did it deliberately. There'd be a different scenario, a different outcome, but your question made it clear that wasn't the case.
No, this was accidental.
Yep.
Stupid, but accidental.
Yep.
Thanks for that, Stuart. So that was GRQOTW 135, and we will have 136, a question for 136 at the end of the show, as we normally do. Nothing different there. Right, let's get into these community questions, which are predominantly or only posted on YouTube, but then also Stuart puts them in the Drop Zone newsletter. And if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, send your email through to golfrules.questions@gmail.com, or there's myriad of ways to get in touch with me, and we will put your email on the list, and you'll get this free rules newsletter every week.
Every week.
Except that 1 week around Christmas. I think we missed one then.
I took a week off.
Yeah, that's it. I did one or a couple for you while you were away, but there was 1 week we just said, let's just have the week off. Right, first community question that we're going to go through is the one that was posted 7 days ago, and you can go back and you can check these out, and you can you'll now know the answer after we tell you, but you can actually go back and have a go for yourself. Maybe have a go in about 6 weeks when you've forgotten what we talked about. In stroke play, this is multiple choice. In stroke play, a player's tee shot is known to have come to rest in an area of ground under repair and was not found after a 3-minute search by the player. They play another ball from the tee under Rule 18.1, which is stroke and distance, which came to rest nearby but outside the same area of ground under repair. The player then realised they could have proceeded under Rule 16.1E without penalty. They lift the second ball played from the tee, believing they can take free relief and drop another ball in accordance with Rule 16.1E and play out the hole, taking 3 strokes from there. What is the player's score on the hole? Now, I have given 4 options. They are A 4, B 6, C 8, and D 10. What is the answer, Stuart?
Excuse me. So tee shot 1. Known or virtually certain to be in the ground under repair, but didn't know it was ground under repair at the time, and couldn't find that ball. And they've gone back to the tee and put another ball into play under stroke and distance. So now they're lying 3. And if the second ball comes to rest near the ground under repair, they now realise they could have taken a drop. So I can't remember, they either picked up that ball or they put another ball into play under 16.1, taking relief from the ground under repair. They weren't allowed to do that because the ground under repair is irrelevant now because the other ball's in play. They've done that. They could have corrected that, but they didn't. They made a stroke at it. So that's going to be 4, but they also triggered the general penalty with that. Is it 4 or 3?
That gets us to 5.
Oh, sorry. And 3 putts. That's going to be 8. It's got a score of 8. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive from... well, that's why his nickname's 100 now, because I'm reading the ruling that I've written down, the explanation. You do get the explanation and after you choose...
Once you choose yeah, exactly, the explanation pops up.
But you don't have it in front of you right now, do you?
No, look at you.
Yeah, which is that's pretty incredible. That's why we call him 100. The main point here, there's 2 main points. Even though he would have been able to take that free relief from the GUR, as Stuart said, taking S&D, stroke and distance, is still an option and an allowed option. So if you proceed under an allowed option, even though it's the dumb option, I mean, this not them in the position where they were dropping out of the free relief situation, might have been horrible anyway, so S&D might have been a better option. But in this case, say it was the dumb option, they've already chosen the S&D option. And so they have to proceed under S as if they had taken S&D, stroke and distance. Now, can you explain one little thing that I have here in the question about picking up the ball in play, that's the ball played from the tee, and then playing from a wrong place? Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Oh, I think so. So they picked up the ball. Sorry, the ball in play is the one, the second ball played off the tee. Yeah. That's definitely the ball in play. Did they pick that ball up and put it into play somewhere else?
I think they picked that ball up.
And walked over to the GUR, got nearest point of complete relief area and dropped it.
But I think they actually dropped the original ball.
Okay. Well, because of the lack of because there's no intervening events, it's going to be the same penalty anyway. So if they picked up they picked up the second ball played off the tee, that's a breach of 9.4. That's 1 penalty stroke. If they put it into play and then played it, that's playing from the wrong place. That's 1 plus 2, but there's no intervening event, and we combine that to just the general penalty, 2 strokes. Had they left the ball in play and walked over and go, I'm allowed to take relief from that GU, I didn't realise that, I'll drop a ball, they could correct that. Is that what you're getting at? They could pick that ball up and go back to the one that was still lying there.
I was getting that, but also I was getting at if they played that drop ball and then picked up the provisional, does it change the score? Oh, sorry.
There's no provisional, yeah.
Then pick up the S&D ball, does that change the score?
Oh, it might. No, because it put the other one in play. that stroke and distance ball is now a long ball.
Because it wasn't a serious breach.
It's been taken out of play. The only other thing I was going to add was the difference in going back to a teeing area and going back to another area of the course under stroke and distance. That if you go back to the teeing area and tee the ball up, you still haven't taken the other one out of play yet. You've only just put your ball on a tee ready to hit it. As soon as you hit it, it's the action of hitting it that takes the other one out of play. Whereas if you drop under stroke and distance anywhere else on the course, it's the act of dropping that puts that ball in play and takes the other one out of play. Teeing area is a little bit different in that respect.
Yeah.
So you've got to walk back to the tee, teed it up, someone yelled out, hey, you can take relief from that. Oh, no, I've already put a ball on a tee. It doesn't matter. He could have actually just picked that ball up and gone down to his GUR and taken the free relief.
It's different how you put a ball into play depending on the location of said ball. Right, next one. This was 2 weeks ago.
Sorry, can I put you on the spot?
Yeah, go for it.
What was the breakdown of responses from our people?
We had 50%, so nearly 200 people get it right.
Oh, good.
So I was pretty happy with that.
Very good.
Then the next most common answer was 6, with a quarter of the people.
So that's clearly taking the stroke and distance out of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, no, because if you take the stroke and distance out, then you haven't played from the wrong place either.
Yeah, you've taken something out of it.
Yeah, okay.
So you think the next most obvious would be 4, you would think. Tee shot, free drop, 3 shots.
Yeah, I would have thought so. But obviously they're thinking he's done something wrong. I can't work out what, but I'm not going to.
It can't be 4.
I'm not going to give him 3-shot penalty. I'll just, plus the second ball. I'll just give him double bogey. Does anyone care about a double bogey?
You do.
If you're a 54 handicapper, yes. That's a good score. That's a net birdie.
There it is.
Right, next question. In stroke play and during search for their ball covered by sand in a bunker, a player moves some of the sand to find it and it accidentally causes the ball to move. They replace the ball on the estimated original spot without recreating the original lie and play the ball. What is the ruling?
Jeez.
Now the options were no penalty, A, no penalty, B, 1 stroke penalty, C, general penalty.
So what were the options? No penalty, general penalty, and what?
No penalty, 1 stroke, and general penalty.
Okay.
So he's searched for his ball in the bunker, he's moved the ball in the bunker, and then he's replaced the ball on the estimated original spot without recreating the
line. Yeah.
What is the ruling?
I know what the ruling is. I want to give you the real number.
Well, the ruling is general penalty. So rule 7.
Sorry, go on.
Well, it'd be 7.1. You are allowed to search for your ball in sand, and you can do that by moving it with the sand with your feet. You can do it by moving the sand with a club, with a rake. You're allowed to try and find that ball in the sand. Okay, you must recreate the lie, and the rule for recreating the lie in sand is.
Not what I thought it would be. I was going to go to.
Let me guess.
What's that?
It'd be 14, wouldn't it? 14.
Well, I was going to go to 8 and 12.
I was thinking of 14 point. Hang on, 14. It'd be lie altered.
That's 14.2D.
Yeah. Where is it actually?
Well, I found it in 7.1B.
Oh, well, there you go.
Under the fairly searching for your ball. What to do if sand affecting live player's ball is moved while trying to find or identify it? The player must recreate the original lie in the sand, but may leave a small part of the ball visible if the ball had been covered by sand. If the player plays the ball without having recreated the original lie, the player gets the general penalty.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Rule 7 doesn't tell us 3 minutes, but it talks about recreating the lie in the sand.
We've had this conversation about where do you find out how long you can search for your ball, and you don't find out how long you can search for your ball in the searching for your ball chapter. You find it in when the ball becomes lost chapter, what your options are, which I can understand that it's an 18.2, but I just wish it was in Rule 7.
I believe it's on Rule 7.
What it has so much to do with how long I can search for. Yes, it's not how long you can search, it's when does the ball become lost. I get that, but still,
one sentence.
You could. What I'm trying to get at is Rule 7. You could stay in Rule 7, stay searching for 10 minutes, and not think you've done anything wrong, and never go to Rule 18 at all. Because if you find your ball, then in your mind it was never lost because you don't know about that 3 minutes.
Well, it was one sentence in 7 to say 3 minutes if not found, see 18.2.
I mean, this is, we talk about moved. Moved is different in the English language as it is to the rules of golf language. Lost is different in the English language as to the rules of golf. Lost is you never found it. Rules of golf, you could have found it, but it's a time as to whether it was lost or not.
Yeah.
All right. Next, and the breakdown was 46% got that right. So that would have been about just under 300 there. The next most common answer, there's no penalty. And that was 1/3 of the people said no penalty.
Well, we're 2 for 2, where the majority have got the correct answer, which is good.
Yeah, there you go. Next question. When two players take relief from a penalty area, the order of play is determined by the relative location of the balls before relief is taken, the relative location of the balls after relief is taken, or a random method, unless the players mutually agree to the order of play. This is one that I have difficulty with. So,
the way it was explained to me, I don't have any difficulty with it anymore, but it took someone to explain it to me very clearly. Sorry, I had to laugh when you asked that question.
Well, my difficulty is that it's changed. It changed from 218 to 219, and that's why I still get confused. But what is your explanation?
I'd like to find a clarification, though.
The answer is...
There you go. I found it. Sorry.
The answer is A, the relative location of the balls before relief is taken. And I've got an explanation, but I want your rules explanation, but also your quick explanation as to how someone explained it to you and now you don't forget it.
6.4D, when player has the choice to play the balls at lies or take relief, the player's order of play is based on the spot where the original ball lies. This applies even when the player has already decided to take stroke and distance relief or to take relief to play from a different place than where the original ball lies. So in that case, it's where they came to. Even if the ball's in very, 4 metres deep of water, 4 yards of water, and you've got no chance of playing it, it doesn't matter. It's still where it lies. You have the option to take relief, or you have the option to play the ball that lies. Therefore, it's based on where the original ball is currently sitting or was sitting. And I find it odd, even if you've decided, well, I'm not playing that, I'm going to go and take relief back there, I'm going to go back to the tee, it doesn't matter. Because you had the option, and you actually had the option to play the balls that lies, that's where we base the relative distances on, is where the original ball lies. And of course, it's when a ball is hit out of bounds, that person doesn't have the option. There's only one place. It doesn't matter where the ball came to rest out of bounds, they don't have that option. So the teeing area is their spot for determining the relative distance.
I actually like the change. Even though I get confused with it, I like the change. I just need to get used to it. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't happen that often, and
No.
It's more likely to be considered in match play. In stroke play, you're ready to play, just play sort of thing. So it's more common in match play, and I haven't really refereed too much or played too much match play of late. Actually, I just haven't played that much golf, full stop.
I'm going to get the two players wrong, but I reckon it was a Xander Schauffele and a Rory McIlroy.
Yes,
was it a
you did
Ryder Cup? Yeah, okay, Ryder Cup.
Wasn't Ryder Cup. Can you remember?
I'm going to go match play. No, not the hole, but obviously Rory tried to carry the water and didn't, but he was closer to the hole than when Schauffele was. But of course, his only option was to go back to the tee, but Schauffele was to hit next from a lot closer to the hole than where Rory was going to hit his next shot from. Significantly closer to the hole.
Yeah, it was.
Because Rory's, yeah.
The reason I know exactly where it was, I think it was 3 years ago though, wasn't it? The reason I know exactly where it was, I've been there and I've refereed. It was Austin Country Club, hole 13. It's a drivable par 4. In stroke play, a player's tee shot deflects.
Sorry, Blakey. How many got that right?
Sorry.
That's okay.
46% got that right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was not 80 or 90%, but so, I'm going half. That's pretty good.
About 200, which is good.
Mm.
And the next common was the relative location of the balls after relief is taken.
Which makes a lot of sense.
It does. The
balls are sitting there, we can work out who's next.
Yeah. In stroke play, player's tee shot deflects off a maintenance cart and goes into a red penalty area 10 yards to the left. The player drops a ball at the spot where the ball deflected off the cart and completes the hole in 4 more strokes. They tee off on the next hole. What is the player's score for the hole? The options were 5, 7, 8, or disqualified. Can you remember this one?
No, tee shot off the maintenance cart into the penalty area.
Yeah, and it's important that you read it this way. The red penalty area is 10 yards to the left. Not it goes into the red penalty area and the ball travels 10 yards to the left. Does that make sense? If you read it that your ball travelled 10 yards to the left and a red penalty area was right beside the maintenance cart, then you could actually have an argument that they have dropped it correctly playing under 17.1.
Understood.
Right?
Yes.
But it's because the gap between the maintenance, where it hit the maintenance card and the red penalty area was 10 yards. There's no way you can drop in the correct penalty area.
In the correct lateral relief area. I've got to work out how many shots based on the question here. So tee shot in, drop out of the penalty area is 2. Next shot's the 3rd. Triggers a general penalty 4, 5. How many shots after that drop? I've already counted one of them.
And it's not a serious breach.
No.
So
no DQ.
So they get the penalty area and then they play from a wrong place and then they complete the hole in 4 more strokes.
So I've already counted one of those. Excuse me. So tee shot, drop out of the penalty area, wrong place 4, 8.
Yeah, correct.
Excuse me, here's my answer.
And only 18% got that right. Now, the next highest was disqualified, and I could, I don't see that as that's wrong, and in my eye, it's wrong. This is not my question, but the question would say that that's wrong. But if you think that it's a serious breach, which it might be, then disqualified would be correct. The thing about a serious breach, it has to be a significant advantage. And, I think we've said it on this podcast before, whilst you need to take everything into account, that's what the rules say. Remember, they're getting a 2-shot penalty, which is pretty penalising. So for me, a significant advantage has to be more advantageous than a 2-shot penalty.
Now remember that player is also putting a 5 down on their card as well. So fortunately, the committee can add those penalty strokes that the player wasn't aware of.
Yeah. The third, or the second most common option actually, with 30%, so just under a third, was 7. And I'm assuming that they forgot to add
the penalty area
from the red penalty area, because that's the ruling that the committee has to apply. Why did you drop in that area? They don't know, but where was your ball? It was in a red penalty area. Okay, so we're applying red penalty area relief, 1 shot penalty. You dropped outside the relief area, so that's another 2. That's why it's 8, not 7. Okay. In a match between David and Jeff, David's ball was farther from the hole and it rests in the fairway on the 6th hole of Wombat Hills, a par 4 hole. After making you look like you're trying to remember where.
I'm trying to remember whose ball is where.
You're trying to remember the 6th hole at Wombat Hills. Anyway, a match between David and Jeff, so it's a match. David's ball is farther from the hole and at rest in the fairway on the 6th hole, par 4 hole. After making the second shot, David believes that the ball might be lost. David announces that they are going to play a provisional ball and does so before Jeff plays. In this situation, David has followed the correct procedure. B, at the request of Jeff, abandons the provisional ball and plays again after Jeff. C, must replay the provisional ball after Jeff plays their next shot. D, loses the hole for improper procedure. The answer is they have followed the correct procedure. So if you're on the tee, you happy for me to explain this one?
Yeah, I've got the ruling here too.
It's halfway through anyway. When you're on the tee, you wait until all players have played and then you play the provisional ball in the same order as what the original balls were played in. So if it was Stuart, David, Jeff, and we all had to hit provisional balls, it would go Stuart, David, Jeff, Stuart, David, Jeff. If it was just David and Jeff that hits provisional balls, it would go Stuart, David, Jeff, David, Jeff. But when you're down the fairway, you pretty much play the provisional ball immediately. And that is because if you go off what the order of play was initially, you are further from the hole, you're playing a provisional ball, you're still further from the hole. Now, you could, if you just want to get ready and change a club or whatever, you could say to someone else, go ahead, but the order of play is you just play straight away. So you hit your original and you go, oh no, it could be lost outside the penalty area, I will play a provisional ball. Do you have anything to add to that, Stuart?
Well, only that it's directly below the section from 2 questions ago about taking relief and the order of play.
Yeah, you'll see that I try and find the questions that I need help for.
6.4D2.
So I need help with order of play, so I put a lot of those questions in.
The order of play is for the player to play the provisional ball right after making the previous stroke and before anyone else plays a ball, except when starting a hole from the teeing area. Stuart, David, Jeff, Stuart, David, Jeff. And also if you haven't made your decision yet, but 6.4D2.
I'll try and put more intervening event questions into there. So 67% of people got that one right. So that was
that's good. That's
great. Next one, in stroke play during the round, a player applies a strip of black tape to the top of their wedge to prevent glare and makes a stroke with the club. What is the ruling? No penalty, general penalty, or C, disqualification. That is disqualification. Do you know which rule that is? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, 4.1A3.
Good. Deliberately changing club's playing characteristics during round.
Yeah. There's no graded penalties for making a stroke in breach of that rule. There's no, first one's general penalty, or the first one's a warning, and then do it again, it's general penalty. There's none of that. where.
You've got a list on those kind of things, don't you?
I do. What do you call it? Elevated proceeding progressively, progressive penalties.
One of those, yep.
Mm.
And 48% chose disqualification. So pretty close. That was the highest as well, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, good one.
David hits his second shot to the 6th green. David plays a lot more golf on community questions than he does in real life. David hits his second shot to the 6th green. The ball lands just off the green, creating a pitch mark, and then comes to rest with the pitch mark on his line of play. David is allowed to repair that pitch mark.
You sent through a little shout out a week or two ago. Hey, you got any real quick, simple questions to put in? I didn't realise you'd done that X weeks ago, that particular question. I put that question forward about a week or two ago.
Oh, did you?
And you've gone, thanks, that's really good. And I'm going, yeah, really good. Like, he's already asked it 6 weeks ago.
Oh, that's all right. I tend, with these questions, if we look back, after the last 4 years, I'm sure that I've doubled up.
I'm sure you have tripled.
Or quadded up. And then other areas I've totally forgotten about. But that's all right.
What was the question? He's allowed to repair the pitch mark? Always can.
The ball is off the green. The pitch mark's on his line of play, and the pitch mark is also off the green. Can he repair that pitch mark? True or false?
Okay. The answer?
The answer is false. As per Rule 8.1a, a player is not allowed to improve his conditions affecting the stroke, in this case his line of play, by altering the surface of the ground, including by creating or eliminating holes. Now, if the pitch mark was on the green, that is different, and specifically allows damage on the putting green, such as made by another golfer, to be repaired.
Blakey, could David avoid penalty by restoring the conditions improved in breach of that rule?
No, he couldn't. So that's 8.1c, right?
Yes.
8.1c says that the areas, the cats in 8.1a1 and 2
very good
can be repaired, restored. But if you improve your conditions in 8.1a 3, 4, and 5, you cannot restore. Well, you can restore them, but you're already, you're already getting the penalty. You can't get out of the penalty. Is the easiest way to say that.
Spot on. I've got another one for you.
Go.
So you repaired that, and I walked over and said, "Hey, I'm not sure you can fix that pitch mark. It's on your line of play and off the green." And you go, "Well, actually, I'm going to change I'm not going to putt through it anymore. I'm going to use that backstop behind the hole. I'm going to use I'm actually going to chip over on a different line of play and have the ball do this. That's now my intended stroke, and therefore my intended line of play." At which point I would say,
if you've already repaired it, bad luck. You still get the penalty regardless of whether you change strokes, direction of play, or whatever.
8.1a/3. If a player intends to play a ball in a certain way and improves the cats for that particular stroke, and the penalty cannot be avoided by restoration, the player is in breach, whether they go on to play the ball in that way or play it in a different way that is unaffected by that improvement.
I could see a committee giving you that one though. I could see, you're saying, "Oh yeah, but I didn't. I repaired it, but then I played a different way and I chipped over it, so it wouldn't have even come into play." And the committee going, "Oh yeah, that's fair enough."
Didn't even go anywhere near that pitch mark. Oh, that's fine.
Okay, David hits his ball onto the
Sorry,
green.
what percentage did we get there?
Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting.
That was just a true or false, so that would have already made that right.
71%.
Yeah.
So nearly 3/4. So 350 people. Next one, David hits his ball onto the green. When he arrives at the green, he watches as his ball that was at rest rolls off the green and into a bunker. He plays it from the bunker onto the green, rakes the bunker, then goes and marks his ball, then lifts it to clean it. After replacing the ball and removing the marker, the ball rolls about 1 metre closer to the hole because of the strong wind. He walks over to it and putts it into the hole. What score has David had on the hole?
God.
A, 3, B, 4, C, 5, D, 6.
You know what you should start these questions with? How many strokes? Because all I'm doing is listening to what's happening. Is tee shot under the green, right? And
Yes.
And ball rolls into...
Yeah, it says David hits his ball onto the green, so I mean, I haven't put tee shot, which is rude, but...
that's fine. We'll go with...
He's one, let's just say he's one onto the green. And
the ball then rolls, right?
The strong wind blows it back into the bunker.
Okay, so still 1, makes a stroke from the bunker, 2.
Yeah.
Rakes the bunker, that's fine. On the green, he marks his ball and lifts it.
Yeah.
So he's still there for 2. Replaces the ball, lifts his ball marker, ball moves forward towards the hole.
Yeah.
Still 2.
Yeah.
Should have replaced it, didn't. Made a stroke. So that's 3 plus wrong place, 5. Did he hole out with that putt?
Yes.
So 5 is the answer?
5 is the answer, and 57% got that right, so that was pretty good. Because that rule 9.3 exception 1 says that if you've lifted and marked your... Sorry, if you've marked, lifted and replaced. It doesn't actually say marked, it just says lifted and replaced. But obviously you have to you'll get a penalty if you don't mark. Lifted and replaced, that ball now owns that spot until you make a stroke or take an unplayable or a relief situation. I mean,
I have a theory on why the word marked is not there. Because it allows, in that situation, if I was playing with you, that allows me to walk over and lift your ball and have it replaced by you or me, and it still owns that spot, even though I didn't mark it because I didn't have to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my theory.
That's a good theory. I was just trying to think.
So, if someone lifts and replaces, it owns that spot.
Yep. Just trying to think if there was anything to do with placing and not replacing, and whether that means that it owns its spot. Say you have temporary water on the green, and the temporary water's on your line of play, and you lift the ball, and then you place it at the nearest point, no nearer the hole, in which you don't have any, you have full relief, complete relief from the interference.
Yeah.
Now, when you didn't need to mark it because you're placing, not replacing.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one.
Does that count? You reckon that counts?
As in, does it own that spot?
Because you've lifted and placed.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Isn't it the same though? There's a clarification that says that's the same.
That's what I'm asking you, and you're my 100 guy.
No, there is a clarification somewhere that is the same outcome.
Okay.
I was trying to find it.
I think it is and I think it should be the same outcome.
And it is. I'm just trying to find it so I can read it out to the listeners. And you know what? When we started doing these podcasts, what was it, 10 years ago?
I'm not even 10 years old.
I remember we'd do a lot of these questions and we'd just give our answers. And, you know, most of the time we were right. But someone said to me once, it would be so good if you actually read out the rules for real, as opposed to you just guys just, you know, giving it in your own words. That's why I think it's important that we know the rule, but I think it's important to actually go and find it, give the number so someone can look it up themselves and read it themselves.
Yeah,
but also to actually give it the right wording.
Got no problem. I mean, the good thing in this case is community question. I mean, they can go and check it themselves anyway. I've written the explanation
of
the rules number. But B, it's all been prepared for me as most good podcasters would do. Normally, so, you know, you don't have to go and try and, like what we normally do on the air is just bundle our way through? No.
Good description.
But fumble our way through.
I think the 13.1D One other thing I was going to say, we've had a few wrong place penalties so far.
Yes.
And you said this before, but not in this podcast. You've said about, in this episode, you've said how, it needs to be a significant advantage to be a serious breach.
Yes.
But something you've said previously to me is the general penalty is still a pretty hefty penalty.
That's right.
So they're already getting, as long as they're not getting penalised.
That's right.
They're getting a pretty hefty penalty already. And often that is sufficient.
Yeah.
For the advantage they're going.
And as me being on the committee, I already think the wrong place is pretty hefty. Someone who, say you hit 2 shots in a bunker and you're still in the bunker. Or another one where you hit it out of bounds and you have to drop back in the bunker and you just drop within 2 club lengths outside the bunker. Or, in the first one, your ball's still in the bunker and you just take a drop sideways out of the bunker or something like that. 2 shots for that wrong place, is that a significant advantage? I mean, if they're professional, I don't think it is. If the fact that they dropped outside, there's another thing you could do there. Actually, that's a question. Sorry, I'm sort of just talking in my mind, and confusing people. But here's a question for you. That's sort of on that theme, but not quite. Say you drop out sideways from a bunker. It's clearly not stroke and distance, but you think that you get to drop out sideways. You go, one of my options is dropping out of a bunker. I know that. And I'm pretty sure it's within 2 club lengths, right? So you drop out sideways. You say, I think it's a 2-shot penalty. Or, no, you go, I think it's a 2-shot, or is it just 1 shot? And you go, okay, it's 1-shot penalty. Even, as a committee, and they play from there, and hit on the green and finish the hole and play it from the next hole. As a committee, are you going to penalise that person 2 shots, or are you going to penalise them, so I'll say it, I know you're thinking it, 3 shots, or are you going to disqualify them?
Well, you're not going to disqualify them, that's for sure. Not an Australian Golf Club anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they, what my question is, can you apply back on the line outside the bunker to what they did and just say, oh, that's what you tried to do, you did it in the wrong way, or you did it in the wrong place. So it's 2 shots for the back on the line, so we'll make sure you get your score up, and then we'll give you 2 shots for your wrong place. Or does it make a big difference how big the bunker is?
Well, I reckon the fact that you said they dropped it within 2 club lengths, it's almost as if they thought they were doing the correct thing with regards to lateral.
Yeah.
Therefore, 1 penalty for unplayable.
Right. Actually, that's a good point. So if they drop it outside the bunker thinking that they are allowed to under that lateral relief, which lateral you have to keep it inside the bunker, you're thinking, well, you tried to do the right thing, you just dropped it in the wrong part of the course, so it's a 1-shot penalty, and and the serious breach, so it's 3. Whereas someone else who said, I'm proceeding under back on the line, and then they thought they had the club length and didn't drop on the line, they would get the 2 shots for back on the line, and then they would get the 2 shots for serious breach.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Wow, that's... Yeah, there's actually, you could have 4 different people in a group, and how they intended to drop for penalty relief, and how they did actually end up dropping. Wow, that's...
That's why committees have a tough job sometimes.
Yeah, and...
I found it, by the way. I found it. I wanted to find it.
I can't wait till we do Committees Gone Rogue. which we're collecting our community gone rogue stories at the moment. And
so there we go. There's a shout out for those that are still listening to this episode. We would like to think our next episode will be Committees Gone Rogue, and we'd love to get some input about stories from committees out there.
Yeah.
We know lots of people listen to this from all around the world, and I'm sure 1 in every 10 has a really good story they can share with us. We'd love to read them out. By the way, I found this clarification.
All right.
I was determined to find it. Clarification 13.1D2/1. So this is in relation to the putting green.
Yeah.
If players' ball is on the putting green and they have interference from the abnormal course condition, which you said, temporary water, the player decides to take free relief under 16.1D. If the nearest point of complete relief is on the putting green, once the ball is placed at this point, it is treated as if it had been lifted and replaced under Rule 13.1D2. For example, a player's ball is in temporary water. They decide to take and place a ball on the spot of the nearest point of complete relief, as on the putting green. While the player is preparing to make the stroke, natural forces causes the ball to move. The player must replace the ball on the spot of the nearest point of complete relief. That's the equivalent.
Excellent. That's exactly what we said.
I mean, we knew that. I just like to find it and read it out.
Yeah, well, so did I. There's no use us just going off what we think is right. Now, the reason I'm distracted is I'm checking in the next question to golf.ai.
Oh. I'd love to hear Tyrone's voice.
But, I put in Kerry Fairway, which is a Kiwi girl. For some reason, I like the Kiwi accent better.
Really? You have an accent?
I don't. My accent's turned into Australian, which is shocking, mate. Australia. Anyway.
No, well in Australia.
Yeah. David, true or false? David runs out of golf balls. He may ask anyone else on the course for golf balls as long as he does not unreasonably delay play. True or false?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's see what golf.ai says.
I reckon golf.ai will get that right.
True or false?
Is David asking for golf balls from fellow players during a round? Or is he looking to purchase them from a pro shop or another source on the course?
That's actually quite a common voice there. Ewan Porter, Australian commentator. Former PGA Tour of Australasia pro. Now I said, so he actually asked me a further question.
Oh, right.
And I said fellow players. So this is the answer.
David may get a conforming ball to play from anyone else, including another player on the course, Rule 4.2A1. However, he must not unreasonably delay play in doing so, Rule 5.6A.
I've got a question for you.
About true or false, and so they basically just confirmed that it was true. It was like a Texan Southern accent or something like that.
So that was word for word from 4.281. A player may get a conforming ball to play from anyone else, including another player on the course. It's almost word for word. Well, it is word for word. I'm wondering if that golf.ai would have mentioned 5.6 had you not put it in the question. I'm going to go with no.
I don't know. It's getting a lot. It's just over the last 2 or 3 weeks that we've been, looking at it, testing it. It's getting so much better. It's actually blowing me away, and I'm trying not to be biased about it. But it's actually blowing me away how good it is getting.
So I wonder if you asked it again, can a player get a conforming ball to play from anyone else?
So
that's the question. Don't mention unreasonable delay of play.
All right, refresh. Oh, hang on. Refresh means that you didn't like the answer and you want another answer.
Oh, jeez.
It's not what. Oh.
You're happy with the answer?
Yeah, I was happy with the answer. Hang on, let me start again. Play golf. No. Just got to work this out. David runs, stop me when you want me to stop, runs out of golf balls.
Yeah. Can he borrow a ball from someone else?
Ask anyone else on the golf course for golf balls? Just stop there.
Yeah. I reckon the previous question has probably taught us something. Anyway.
Okay, so he's asked the question, is David playing in a casual round of friends or is he participating in a formal tournament? Are there any specific rules or guidelines in place for the event he is playing in? This will help determine if borrowing balls is acceptable. Just say tournament, no specific rules. I guess he's asking about the one ball condition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something the other day, it actually it prompted us about a local rule, and I was like, it's thinking about local rules now.
Not all local rules, yeah.
So I just added tournament, no specific rules, and this is the answer. Now, we don't actually know what voice. I thought I'd chosen the Kiwi one, but we don't actually know what voice it's going to get.
David may ask anyone for conforming golf balls, including other players on the course, even those competing in the same tournament. This is explicitly allowed by Rule 4.2A1 of the Rules of Golf. There is no restriction on the source of conforming balls.
So, yes, you were correct. It didn't actually follow up with as long as there's no unreasonable delay, which I would have liked it to add in. But, I asked it a question and gave me the right answer.
It did, yeah, it was true.
Would I prefer it to give it a little bit more? Obviously. But then again, I asked a question the other day and it was like a massive essay of and it was right, but it was like, I was like, oh, that's podcast, too long, didn't read. We'll do one more question from the community questions. This was 2 months ago. 76% got that one right, which is good. This one, in individual stroke play, David hits his ball out of a bunker and onto the 7th green at Wombat Hills. As he is raking his footprints, Jeff, another player in the group, lifts David's ball without marking it and tosses it onto the fringe because it was in the way. David walks onto the green and sees his ball, and that is when Jeff tells him it was located about 3 metres from the hole. Who must replace the ball and where? A, Jeff, he must replace it on the estimated spot where it was lifted from. B, David, he must replace it on the original spot, estimate if not known. C, either player, and they must replace it on the original spot, estimate if not known. D, David, and he must drop it over his shoulder so that it first touches the green. 1% of people chose David, and he must drop it over his shoulder so that it
They're being silly.
the green. Correct.
Did most get the answer correct though? And I do have one comment to say.
Just 39% got it right. The second most common was that Jeff must replace it.
And that makes sense. I get why people would think that.
The actual answer is either player, the player who moved it or the player that owns the ball.
And this is one of my always, because there's very few always in the rules. A player can always proceed into stroke and distance.
Yeah.
But a player can always put their own ball back into play.
Yeah.
Can always put it back, place it, replace it, drop it, always.
And so they must replace it on the original spot. But if it's not known, if Jeff can't remember...
Jeff the jerk.
Didn't put a... What did you say? Jeff the joke?
Jeff the jerk for lifting it and not even getting a rough idea of where it needs to go back.
Then you just estimate if not known.
I do that with my captain at my club just to mess with him every now and again. I'll lift his ball and not mark it on the green.
Yes, that's pretty good.
No, I know exactly where, I look at the discoloration on the green. I know exactly where it has to go back, but it certainly has people raise their eyebrows. Actually, I should give a quick clubland story. This happened last week. The player's ball was about half a metre behind the ball, and I was about to putt onto the green from just off, and I said, this is the second hole, 11th. I said, hey, Hector, can you leave your ball there? Well, our captain, you know him, and I know him, he looked at me with these big eyes of, oh my God, that's a breach. His eyes of, you can't do that. But I said, can you just leave it there? And I, of course, had to explain to him that I hadn't breached any rule yet. And of course, I said, no, I'm only joking, please don't mark it. And I had to explain to him when that general penalty for both players is triggered. That wasn't me asking. Anyway, Sorry, that happened for real. I do like missing every now and again.
Yeah.
You gotta enjoy yourself on the golf course if you're not playing well.
Well, you and I are playing at Victoria in 2 weeks, so there might be a few things coming out there. But actually, I've got one last thing to finish on. This is incredible, actually. This actually does blow my mind. And I don't want to harp on about it, but golf.ai, you can give them, you can call them. So I've got one more question here that we're going to do. So let me call.
Hi, I'm Chris, your rules official from golf.ai. I generally look up information, so be patient with me as I search the rule book.
Hey, Chris.
What golf rules question? Hey there, I'm ready to help with any questions you have about the rules of golf. What's on your mind today?
True or false? While his ball is in motion, a player may move another player's golf bag that is able to influence the movement of their ball out of the way.
That's an interesting scenario. To make sure I give you the correct ruling, could you clarify whether the golf bag is considered a movable obstruction?
Yes, the golf bag is considered a movable obstruction. It's also considered equipment.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. Let me check the rules regarding moving equipment that could influence a ball in motion. Okay, the answer to your question is false. Here's why. Rule 11.3 states that when a ball is in motion, a player must not deliberately take certain actions to affect where that ball might come to rest. This includes lifting or removing a movable obstruction. However, there is an exception. A player is allowed to move equipment belonging to any player. But this exception does not apply to a ball at rest anywhere except the putting green. So while the ball is in motion, moving another player's golf bag, which is considered equipment, to influence the ball's movement would be a breach of Rule 11.3, resulting in a general penalty. Was there anything else I can help you with regarding the rules?
Yeah, that wasn't quite right, Chris. So it's actually true. You are allowed to move equipment out of the way.
I apologize for the mistake in my previous answer. I want to make sure I'm providing you with the correct information. Are you asking if it's permissible to move another player's equipment, like a golf bag, out of the way while a ball is in motion, and if that action is allowed under the rules of golf?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Thanks for confirming. Let me recheck the rules to make sure I get this right for you. You are absolutely correct. I apologize for the previous error. The statement is true. Here's the correct explanation. According to Rule 11.3, when a ball is in motion, a player must not deliberately take certain actions to affect where that ball might come to rest. However, there is an exception, which states that this rule does not prohibit a player from lifting or moving equipment belonging to any player. Therefore, it is permissible to move another player's golf bag or any equipment while the ball is in motion. Thanks for pointing out my mistake and helping me get to the right answer. Do you have any other questions I can help you with?
No, that's awesome, Chris. Thank you. Have a good day.
I'm glad I could eventually get that right for you. Thanks for using golf.ai. Have a great day.
That is incredible.
What world are we living in now?
That's incredible.
Like, okay, it got it wrong. And it wouldn't have got it right unless I told it the answer. Okay, so, there is a mistake there. But what I'm looking at now is a case of it knows the answers. It's just interpreting what I'm saying as to why, how it's going to answer, basically. Like, how did I just have a conversation with a computer?
Exactly.
A conversation with a computer where it then started going, oh, yeah, sorry, I made a mistake. Okay, that's like, I get it. I get it that we don't want this computer to make a mistake. I get it. But how many people are like you and I? There's a small community of people that get above 90%. And we're not always available. All we need is this thing to be better than golf shops, to be better than committees at Clubland.
Yeah.
And once it's better than that, golf shops can just go straight to that.
Yeah.
That was a phone call. That was a Sydney number. So I've got a number for people living in America. I've got a number for people living in the UK, and I've got a number for people living in Australia. And it will branch out. They'll get bigger as time goes by. But is that not one of the craziest things I've ever?
That's incredible. I can't wait. I'm going to grab this audio and send it to a few people. Just that bit. That's incredible. I love how when it asked if it was a movable obstruction, and you said yes, but it's also this.
Yeah, well, I did. Yes, I knew the rule and I corrected it, but the fact that, and it'll learn from that too.
Yeah, that's next time someone asks that question.
That would probably be one of the biggest things to, there's a few things that'll trip it up because the rules of golf are hard. An object having two statuses, that'll trip it up until it learns the language. But I hadn't had that conversation. I've had conversations with it about other things. I treat it like a person. Hey Chris, how's your day? That type of stuff.
How could you not when it gives you those responses?
But
incredible.
That's blown my mind. Anyway, right. Thank you for listening to that. And thank you everyone for listening into the community questions. Now you have a GRQOTW 136, please.
Pretty straightforward question. Excuse me. GRQOTW for episode 136. Blakey and Stuart are playing each other in a match at Wombat Hills. As Stuart is preparing to make his second stroke in the general area on the third hole, his ball moves backwards slightly. Before Stuart can remove his club, the ball now comes to rest against his club, but still in the general area, which stops the ball moving. Blakey is standing close by watching, and both players agree that neither Stuart or any outside influence caused the ball to move. Just to be sure of what to do next, Blakey calls in for a referee. What's the ruling?
Excellent. All right. We'll find out how many people got that one right in the next episode. Or we won't find out because no one emails us, but I'm sure people have a crack at it. Thank you everyone for listening in. I hope you've learnt a lot. Actually, that was a good episode of learning a lot. And I do a lot of wrong places in the rules of golf. I need to start add in a few more wrong balls so people have the understanding of when a wrong ball is a wrong ball and when it's not. And it's very important for that 14.4. 14.4 is very, very important when it comes to changing from a wrong place to a wrong ball. or changing from a wrong ball to a wrong place.
And also 18.3, and now we can add its tangled web into status of the ball.
Yes, yep. Thank you very much, Stuart. Looks like a nice day there.
Always a pleasure.
We will catch you all again in episode 137.